Hello guys, welcome to the channel Stupid for Study. So guys, today we are going to see the mechanical properties or the properties of materials. So there are various properties of materials, some of them are as follows. So our first property is brittleness, then creep, ductility, elasticity, fatigue, hardness, strength, toughness, fracture and malleability. So these are various types of properties of materials or the mechanical properties. So we are going to see first of all the brittleness. So I think you have heard about the brittleness, but we will see the particular definition of brittleness. So it is the property of resisting a change in the relative position of molecules or the tendency to fracture without appreciable deformation and under low stress. So brittleness is a type of property and it is resisting a change in the relative position of molecules, or the second definition is the tendency to fracture without appreciable deformation and under low stress. So the examples of brittle materials are cast iron, glass, etc. Our second property is creep. So what is creep? So creep, it is a time dependent strain occurring under low stress at high temperatures below elastic limit and continuous deformation at steady load. Some of the terms related to creep such as creep limit, creep strength and creep test should be also understood. I will make another video on these topics, so you can watch this video from playlist. So in simple words, creep is a time dependent strain which is occurring under stress at high temperatures, second below elastic limit and continuous deformation at steady load. So our next property is ductility. So what is ductility? So it is also a property. So ductility is the property of materials which allows them to be drawn out into a wires through a die without breaking on application of load. So simply ductility means the property of materials which allow them to be drawn into wires, or the another definition is ability of metals and alloys to retain strength and freedom from cracks when shape is altered. There is another definition, the property of material that can be deformed without fracture when a tension load is applied. So if we apply a particular load on a material and the material gets deformed without fracture, then that property is also called as the ductility. So ductility is similar to malleability. So another important point about a ductile material, it is that the ductile material should have both strength and plasticity. Some examples of ductile material are gold, silver, copper. Lead is difficult to draw because its strength is low. So these are some examples of ductile materials. Our next property is elasticity. So you may have heard about the elasticity. So elasticity is the tendency of a body to return to its original shape or size after removal of load, after having been stretched, compressed or deformed under load. So another simple definition for elasticity is the extent to which a structure may be elongated by deforming stress without causing any permanent change. So it is also called as the elasticity. Some examples of elastic materials are steel, rubber, etc. So our next property is fatigue. So what is fatigue? So fatigue, it is the failure in metals due to application of cyclic stresses or cycle of stresses. So when we apply a stresses on a material in cyclic manner, then the property which is generated in a material is called as, particularly in metals, it is called as the fatigue. Another definition of fatigue is a material that has been subjected to severe or moderate straining due to fluctuating stresses acting on it for a long time and thereby weakens in strength and finally breaks under loads that were safe, is called as fatigue. So these are the simple definitions of fatigue. Our next property is hardness. So what is hardness? Hardness, it is the property of resistance to plastic deformation by indentation, penetration, scratching or bending. So it is the simple definition of hardness. After hardness, our next property is strength. So what is strength? Strength, it is the ability of a material to sustain loads without undue distortion or failure. The material should have adequate strength when subjected to tension, compression, shear, bending or torsion to resist the strain. So simply, the strength is the ability of material to sustain loads without undue distortion or failure. Our next property is toughness. So what is toughness? So simply, it is the measure of the ability of a material to absorb energy before fracture takes place. It is a condition between brittleness and softness. So we have already seen what is brittleness, and toughness is the condition between that brittleness and softness. It is indicated in tensile test by high ultimate tensile stress and low to moderate elongation and reduction in area. So I have prepared another video on tensile test, and another definition for toughness is it is also associated with high values in impact strength. So these are the simple definitions of toughness. So our next property is fracture. So what is fracture? So it is the failure of a material under load to break apart or to separate the continuous parts of an object by sudden shock or by excessive strain. Fracture tests are conducted by deliberately breaking metal part to allow the examination of the fracture face in order to determine the grain size, case depth, etc. So this is about fracture. Now we have already seen the ductility, and in ductility property we have already understood that the ductility is similar to malleability. Now our next property is malleability. So what is malleability? So it is the property of a permanently extending in all directions without fracture by pressing, hammering, rolling, etc. You can also call malleability as the property of material to drawn into a thin sheet.
So another property of malleability is the malleability is the physical property of metals by which they can be shaped into thin sheets without cracking. The metals such as silver, iron, copper, etc. expand when hammered and pressed. Aluminum is very malleable, and that is why we use it as aluminum foil to wrap our food.
So these are all the properties of materials or the mechanical properties. So we have seen all the 10 mechanical properties in this video. So if you like the video, please subscribe our channel, press the like button, and don't forget to share it with your friends, and also watch the playlist related to these videos. So thank you for watching.